So I was basically thinking the other day, what would Jesus do about climate change? There was somebody who brought up the idea that it was in some video I was looking at, and I think they were bringing up the idea that if climate change and the idea of doing something about it could somehow be put into religion, that would probably lead to it being solved very, very quickly, a lot quicker than is the case right now. And, if you look at it, I believe that people like, let's say, for example, the Pope or the Dalai Lama may very well be, they've spoken out with respect to climate change and the idea that we need to do something. But I really wonder, is talk, number one, talk is not going to be what does it. It is structural changes that need to be made. As an individual, I can't really make any structural changes, but billionaires and people who do businesses, who have already made their money, could probably, throw a lot of that money towards helping us to change over to renewable energy sources. At the same time, though, there are billionaires that are doing stuff like that. There are billionaires who are doing their part, you could say. For example, Bill Gates is investing in a lot of different things in order to fix and ameliorate climate change. But one of the things that, when you go looking for how much money it would take, let's say, to turn the US to being 100% renewable sourced energy, or at least non-CO2 emitting energy, it comes in at about $7.8 trillion. Now, in a case like that, even somebody as rich as, I think, is Jeff Bezos, right? He has, I believe it's $200 billion, I heard quoted. If you have 7 trillion, that's 7,800 billion is how much that's required to change over in the US. And a guy has $0.2 trillion. That probably, or $200 billion. That doesn't really help if you need 7,800 billion if somebody has 200 billion. So clearly, even the richest people in the world can't really do anything to save the US, for one example. Anyway, let's get back to religion. I don't think that the Pope himself, the Pope probably has like a lot of sway, but the Pope lives in Rome, in Vatican City, and even with all of the wealth of the Catholic Church, for example, I don't think that would be able to even change over the US in one instance, for example, or any one of those European countries either. So there's that. But okay, I used to be Christian. What would Jesus say about this climate change thing? I think Jesus is, he let himself get crucified, I mean, if you believe that he is God or he's the Son of God, whichever one, it means that he said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go down this path and get crucified in order to save everybody, to expunge everybody's sins, their original sins. And then Jesus basically says, turn the other cheek. Don't be fighting people and stuff like that. It doesn't seem as if, and Jesus of course told a lot of people, he said, sell everything that you own and come and follow me. None of those things really are useful in the fight against the changing climate. None of those things say, hey, try to make sure that the world is okay, that you don't. I think especially for somebody at that time, it would have seemed like it's impossible for one human, or even like Rome, the whole of Rome, to change the entire world. Yeah, I guess for a lot of people who would not know better, they might think, okay, well, Rome is a world. But it probably would not have seemed like humans could do something that drastic that would threaten the entire existence of humankind. I don't think that that would have been something that people would have been thinking about. So unfortunately, as far as I remember, there's nothing that I can see in the whole Bible. I mean, there is a flood, which is that God got upset with human beings and he decided that he was going to kill every last human being, and I guess every last animal as well, because he told Noah to bring the animals that he wanted to save onto the ark. So the idea, I guess, is that, hey, God is in charge. What will be, will be. Even if you look to Revelations, the whole idea is that this is what's going to happen. Just wait around and see what happens. And there is nothing in the Bible that's kind of like, hey, let's try and fix this. Everything is along the lines of you pray and fast, and maybe you put some ashes on your head, and that'll be it. So, and the only other religion, let's see, that I know is Buddhism. I've read a little bit of Buddhism, or at least about the Buddha, and striving for nirvana, which is where you basically don't have any more emotions, you don't have any more desires. You've killed your desire. You're kind of like a stone. I don't think that that really lights a fire or gives any kind of invigorates the idea that, hey, let's try and fix this thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but this whole be calm and chant and do these other things, it's again kind of thing where depend on the gods or depend on fate, and I guess be good to your fellow man, but really try to achieve nirvana and try to avoid continuing in this endless cycle of reincarnation that even the gods are trapped in. I don't really see that as being too helpful with respect to climate change. I've listened to some of the stories that come from Hindu scriptures. For example, there was one story that I know of about some king that wanted to kill this lady who was not just this lady, wanted to kill somebody, and he put them into a fire, and somebody that he knew was going to stay in the fire because they had this magical cloak that you can put on top of themselves to prevent the fire from hurting them. And the god came down, or one of the gods came down and protected the person that the king was trying to kill. And I don't think the story is going the way that I thought. But the whole point of it is that a lot of these stories seem to be like, God will come and help you, Don't really worry too much about how things are going. Let me see Islam. What could Islam say? I don't know a whole lot about Islam. But Islam really seems to be, or at least a lot of people who end up killing themselves with respect to a suicide bomber or something. There's this idea that you'd fight for God. And again, I don't really understand Islam, I'm sure. Even if there are people who do, I'm sure lots of them disagree. But the idea seems to be, if you give your life fighting for God, then you're going to really be rewarded in heaven. And perhaps shouldn't worry so much about what's going on here, which is pretty much Christianity's point of view, which is that heaven is going to be the reward. Don't really focus too much about here because you have an eternity in heaven. And then Buddhism as well is kind of like, try to achieve nirvana, and if you achieve nirvana, then you're not going to have pain and suffering that this world gives you. So no religion really is kind of like try to make this world a better place because it's the only one we have kind of thing. A lot of them are like look towards the hereafter, and that doesn't really help with respect to helping to make the earth better. Which, if religions really were about, hey, let's try to clean up the earth and not make it dirty and stuff, then it probably wouldn't be dirty to begin with. So it's unfortunate. But if somehow we could use religions, or try not use, because that sounds like a horrible word, but try to find the parts in religion that might be helpful to invigorating people to do something about climate change. Off the top of my head, I'm not seeing it at all. But who knows? Like I say sometimes, a friend of mine, he fights with me with the idea that we're going to figure something out. And my point to him is that we can figure out everything that we need to figure out. The point is that it's really hard and it's really expensive, and there is no particular discovery that anybody can think of that will make it less hard. If there's other energy sources, you still have to implement them. You still have to upgrade the grid or whatever. Things are not going to build themselves. There's no invention that's going to build itself. Well, maybe there might be, but that is still going to take a lot of energy, which is going to add to our problems. So I don't know. But anyway, those are my thoughts. See ya.